Hey, good evening, and welcome to the Uptown Parlay Podcast. Now, your host, Ace.
I'm not saying it's not good. Possible is definitely you can't name the last. If you go
I
20
can
years
tell you
back,
I can tell you the last five teams who lost the World Series, but I can't go back to I can't go past that because it's baseball. I'm gonna be honest. I really don't pay attention
I
until the
stopped after the
playoffs.
Yankees win. I don't even remember when the Yankees won.
and that's my point. So my point
Uh,
was, and I mean, Ace was making a point about the Cubs not being the Chicago Cubs not being relevant,
They're not.
and I made the point that they won a World Series more recently than the Yankees.
Right.
And Ace's point because the Cubs won a World Series in 2016 and the Yankees won a World Series in 2009. And to Ace's point that he said, "Oh well, the Yankees won the World Series last year and they've been in the playoffs since that 2016." And I said, "Well, unfortunately, unless you're the winner, nobody remembers playoff berths."
Yeah,
And
nobody
like,
cares.
your fans, the fans of your team remember playoff berths and how many division titles you won and all of that. But history remembers the World Series champion. History remembers the champion,
Yeah, nobody
not
cares about
the
the
runner-up.
runner-ups.
Nobody cares
Nobody cares
about
about the
them.
runner-up. You're right.
So, end of the day, that's where you are, right? Either you're This is what I say about every team in the NFL, every team in the NBA. Like there's one team wins the last game of the season. Everybody else is back to the drawing board.
The only
Everybody else is
runner
back to figuring it out.
I can say one thing. The only runner somebody will remember will be in basketball, and that'll be the Utah Jazz, only because Jordan pushed the shit out of what's the name to shoot the last shot.
And I mean, you remember and you
mm,
remember them relative to the
if
champion
it's a
that beat
classic
them.
like all time series, you'll remember it. Like
I
Kobe winning in '09. I remember him playing the Celtics, and I remember that series like being epic.
Right, but see, Ace, you're not. We're talking about you're a basketball fan. You're a fan of the
Yeah,
game.
but I'm not a
You're a
fan
fan
of
of the
either of
sport.
those teams.
It
But
doesn't
that
matter.
was a really good
It
series, and it
doesn't
went 7 games.
But
It
that still
doesn't
goes to
matter. And
somebody's
you
point,
watched
though.
all 7 games. You're a basketball fan. You're a fan
Yeah.
of the sport. So what I'm saying is the casual fan, the average fan is not going to remember that. Is that you remember the loser relative to the winner, right? You remember who
Well,
LeBron beat.
if,
You may not remember
yes.
anything about that team, but you may know that
Or
the team
the
beat.
star player and stuff like that. Like I'll put it like this: baseball and hockey are sports that I remember the least, and I know that Edmonton had the best player allegedly in this McDavid guy. I don't even remember his first name. I'm not even gonna lie. I just know
Connor.
the last name McDavid, and he played for Edmonton. And they were up in Game 7 of the NHL final, Stanley Cup final, not finals. Apparently, it said singular. Stanley Cup final, and they lost after being up 2 goals, which is a heartbreaking way to lose, especially when you're not at home, but you came back from down 3-1 to tie the series. And now all of a sudden you're going to lose to a bunch of people from Florida. Because you know that hockey hotbed that is South Florida.
As a sports fan, you know things like that. That is not
Yeah.
you. That is
I
not the
can't name
average
one
person.
person. I can't name one person on that team. I think their mascot is the Panthers. I'm not even sure. I'm gonna be honest. I just know that they won because of a podcast and I listen to that talks about them because they're from Miami, and that's really about it.
Such is my point. History remembers
Yeah,
champion, nobody
and
else.
I remember the Dodgers because they're the Dodgers. It's like the Giants winning the Super Bowl, like they're a super old franchise.
Wait a
I don't
minute,
even like.
the Dodgers that won last year?
Yeah,
Yeah, but you couldn't name the starting line. You couldn't name their starting lineup.
I didn't
I
even
could
know the
name
Dodgers won
four.
last year.
I could name you 4 players from the team, and
I
I
didn't
can't tell
ask
you
you
the
if you could
last
name
time I
four
went
players from
to
the
a
team. I
their
said the
starting line. I
starting
can't name
lineup.
the Yankees starting lineup, but I'm call myself a Yankee fan.
Well, then you're not really a Yankee fan.
First of all, I am. Second of all,
Mm,
I've seen them in the
not really.
playoffs, and I used to have tickets. So yes,
If you
I'm a
can't
Yankee
if you
fan.
This is the
can't
guy
name the
who
Yankees
claims to be
starting
the
lineup,
Bear. This is the guy who claims to be the Bears and Ravens fan. So,
I can be a fan of whatever I choose, and yes, if I go out of my way to watch your team's games, I am now a fan of your team.
oh, so you're a
I
fan of
think
the
that's
Jets
how that
then?
works.
if you
If
don't know
I,
all the
you know
players
what?
on the team,
If if I watch more than 10
Yeah.
of your games in a season in football, then I'm a fan. And I
Well,
did not watch 10 Jet games.
you
Yes, you
can call
did.
yourself a fan
No.
of whatever team you want. Everybody knows there's just levels to it. And the level that you sit at
Oh,
on your
yeah.
respective
You're way more
team
intense
It's
than
a
me.
beginning stage.
is
Malik's
He's an
buying
is
season passes.
internship.
Malik's in for all 162. I'm not here for all that shit. I'm not gonna
Ace is
lie.
a Yankee fan at an internship level.
yes.
No. It's more. Listen, I can only pay attention to so much shit at the same time. Come on now. And also, I bet on sports, and if you're betting on baseball, you got a problem because they just have too many games and too many opportunities for you to lose money. To keep it a buck, like that's just too much. That's a lot. You're doing a lot. That's some Pete Rose type shit. Like every day, 16 games every day.
No. But
Every
you
day.
might no, you would not. I would never. I could not see somebody betting on a 162 game season, but you could bet on a team if you feel like you've got a really good pitching matchup.
If they know what they're doing, then I can see somebody doing that. If somebody's
Uh,
into baseball like that.
Yeah.
I couldn't even name. You know what? I can't. No, I can only name two starting pitchers for the Yankees. I think one of them's hurt. So there you go, Garrett
But
Cole.
you got people out there that know
IR.
starting pitchers and quite bat rotations for multiple teams.
Yeah,
It
that's
might not
true.
be us, but there are people out there that like that. They can just go off the cuff right there.
Fair enough. Welcome to the Uptown Parlay Podcast.
Oh wow, we're recording.
We've been recording.
I know.
We got Ace, Ant, and Malik, as you've heard all of our voices.
What's
Yep.
up, everybody?
The only person out here is
What's
Levon.
up, Yeah. I thought he was
I
going to
just
show up
hope
for
the
the playoffs,
fans.
but I guess not.
Yeah, I just hope the fans of our show appreciate that 10 minutes of baseball talk that we just went through, because that's probably going to be the max capacity. We're probably at max capacity now. That's
Some of
probably
them was
it for the
hoping, might
remainder
have
of
been
it.
over there hoping that we start getting into some games in baseball, who was going to pick and
I'll
stuff like
talk about it on the 4th of July
Yeah, okay.
because the UFL will be over, right? College World Series will have happened, and I'll see who won that. The best 2 out of 3.
Yeah, you be talking
And
about yourself.
the WNBA All-Star game will be happening. So
Yeah,
I know
okay.
y'all don't care about that.
Goodbye,
I
Bulls
did.
fans. End of the season. End of an era. United at this famed arena. Go home.
Famed. I don't know if it's really famed.
It is famous.
How so?
I mean, it's the United Center, right? It's
You just named the
where
stadium twice. I love it.
no, what I'm
No,
saying,
good.
it's where the championships, of the '90s were won, or at least a number of them, a few of them were won there. So it definitely has history. They don't do the running of the Bulls thing anymore when they do the intro for this team any longer either. Which I guess, maybe they'll do it when the team's good again. But I do have a bone to pick with Michael Jordan a little bit here. So I know he's been how like you know, the great players on their respective teams, they come back and you see them in the stands every once in a while, they're enjoying the game, and maybe they engage with it. How many times you see Patrick Ewing at a Knick game, or you see David Robinson at Spurs games, and you see, the greats, right? Michael Jordan, I have not seen Michael Jordan at a Bulls game since he retired.
Yeah, because he owns a listening team, right? Don't he own a team?
Well, he sold them. He sold the Hornets.
Yeah, but he's above that now, so I guess he
Yeah,
can't
he doesn't
show.
own them. He can show up. You know how happy these Bulls fans
Oh
would be
yeah,
to see Michael Jordan come and sit in the arena.
and I hate to
The
say it,
only
but
person
Quincy
who
Krause is
still
dead
goes is
too,
Scotty.
right? And Krause is dead
Yeah,
too, so he can go. I hate to bring it up like that, but
yeah,
he can go
I
now because
think
Krause is dead.
I think on the 30th anniversary of the '98 team, he did show up. That was the last
yeah.
time.
But that's like you have to go to that. You know what I mean? Like you were invited to
Hey,
go. That's an invite. Like if you don't show up to the anniversary, the 30th anniversary, that just
when
tells the
you're a
world that you just
billionaire,
hate
your
it.
time is valuable.
Stop it.
He's too
This was a
busy.
this is a big game. If Michael Jordan, this is a big game for them, right? This is a
Not
play-in
really.
game.
The
This is
playing, at all the points and the stats from the playing don't count for anything.
They
It's
don't,
like,
no, they don't count. But the game
yeah,
counts. It's a play-in game for the opportunity to go to the playoffs. you want to have, your people there. If Michael Jordan's show had been sitting courtside at this game, maybe
He had no
that
attachment to
gives
them.
them a little bit of incentive
He had no attachment to
to
those kids.
to play harder. And he doesn't. And that's my whole point. Like, Patrick Ewing doesn't have an attachment to, to the Knicks players, to the guys on the Knicks teams, but he shows up to the games and him being there, I'm sure that gives, the current players a little bit of buzz. Okay, Patrick's here watching this. All right, we got something to do.
I know why Jordan doesn't show up. We'll have to get a little political here, but I know why Jordan doesn't show up. Because he's got outed by the Chinese guys about how the stuff is cheaper in China, so you can get Jordans in China for $5.
That wasn't a secret. That wasn't a secret.
But
Anybody that was a
deal with it
secret.
now. Yeah, it's not no secret, but hey, it's a secret to some people because you just got your knockoffs on 14th Street in New York.
I've seen Derrick Rose at Bulls games before.
There's a reason why Marlboro's is $10. But yeah, Derrick Rose actually shows up. He showed up at Bulls games, and I think he shows up at Knicks games. Right?
Yeah. I don't know. When you're the greatest player in the history of the franchise, you show up once in a while. Show your face. Give
That's true. Even Brady showed up in the Patriots game, even after he retired and stuff like that.
And not only when we're celebrating you, right? Don't just show up then. Like, don't just show up when it's, Michael Jordan bobblehead night. Like, no. That's not the day it's not the only day you show up at the arena. Like, you just drop in.
I think Magic shows up to the Lakers games almost every game, right?
He's at a number of the games. I mean, that's probably a part of it, right? I don't know if Michael Jordan lives in Chicago anymore or has a home or residence there.
Oh yeah, he does. He still got a mansion with 23 games.
But he's a billionaire. It doesn't matter. It's like, hopping on a bus for him.
Probably.
A private jet. He would be there if he wanted to Malik's point, but guess what? He made like 80% of his money playing basketball those last 2 years. So they didn't exactly pay Mike that much either. So maybe.
Well, that was more the time. That was more the sign of the times. Nobody got paid back then. But it's just
Patrick Ewing made more money in his career than Michael Jordan playing basketball, which is crazy.
But right now, Michael Jordan can just live off his interest. He makes more money in interest than Patrick Ewing actually makes right now.
That is correct.
More interest in his bank account.
In any event, Michael Jordan, do better. I think I've said that before, but
every time somebody say do better, I'm thinking about Falcon or Captain America, I should say.
Oh, when he says it to the councilman,
yes.
Do better. What we talk about today, Ace? What we talk about?
We are going to be talking about the NBA playoffs and also the NFL draft, I guess, and the possible trades that will be made, and Anthony's unhappiness with them. Speaking of which, the Jalen Ramsey trade.
Oh, that BS trade? Okay, whatever.
What are they trading to get?
It was just a theory. Somebody popped it up like, yeah, this would be a good thing.
Yeah, I don't think it happened yet.
No, it didn't happen. It's one of those BS type of trade things that they keep coming up with because
they can't
wait till the draft actually shows up. Yeah, they've been having a lot of these so-called fictitious trades lately. Somebody comes in the news, all of a sudden they get traded. They've been doing it. They did the same thing with Kevin Durant. What team will he go to? It's the 5 best teams he might show up at.
Oh no, it's because the Phoenix Suns suck, and you can't have a payroll of like $190 million in the NBA and not even make the play-in. Like they finished 11th.
Don't one NFL quarterback makes $190 $190 million?
KD's making like 45 or 50 million bucks. Bradley Beal's the highest paid player on the team, and they're just wasting the prime of two-time Olympian. What's his name?
One thing I never understand is that why they made these trades in the first place. Do they think that through? I'm going to make this trade. This player is going to be on this team for 2 years, and that's it.
This is what happens when you're run by a fan. They thought the LA Rams thing could work in the NBA, and turns out it couldn't. You can't just build a super team and just have shit go your way.
Yeah, they just make these big trades. The NBA and NFL does the same thing. Make these big superstar trades. Then all of a sudden down the road, oh no, we can't keep this player here that long, so we got to trade him.
Oh, you know what I want to talk about? Where shedeur Sanders is going to go.
Oh no, not again. Everybody's talking about where he's going to go.
Let's go with some clickbait. because all the sports books have him at 8.5, meaning he'll get drafted in the first 9 picks. And I heard an interesting theory today that because not San Antonio, good Lord, New Orleans Saints, another team down south. The New Orleans Saints don't like him as much as they like Jackson Dart. So there's no guarantee that they draft him. And not because of bad arm strength or anything. It's just they don't have a good enough team to make it work with a rookie quarterback. And they have a brand new head coach, correct? So they don't want to exactly get fired right away. So
usually a
whoever
new
they
coach will
draft,
want their own players, but
yeah, exactly. So, but just because you need new players doesn't mean he wants shedeur. So it's actually not unreasonable that Jackson Dart, who came out of nowhere really, is possible to get drafted by them.
shit, I
And
was talking about Jackson Dart moving up a couple of weeks ago.
well, I guess you're more astute than the rest of these draft analysts.
But I wouldn't be surprised if the coach Shedeur Sanders just lands with the Giants, or like he was supposed to, like he was marked to in the beginning of these mocks in the first place. They have so many hints that that he might go there, from him tossing to Malik Neighbors to him having a giant shoe or cleats or whatever in his locker, to going Giants even doing more visits with him and stuff like that. There's so many things that that Giants might just come out of nowhere and just draft him out at 3, or maybe just wait to see how far he drops and come back in the later rounds. Come back later on in the first round and pick him back up there, like say 19 or close to 20 before Pittsburgh shows up.
See, now that's the thing. If you take the over on when he's going to get drafted, if you say he's going to get drafted after the 9th pick or later, then that means you can win. I think it's like plus 250.
All right, so let's call it right now. I take the over.
You're taking the over? I agree with you. I think he's going to fall. And not far, but I think he's going to go in the middle of the first round.
There's another hint too, that he's not even on the list of players.
And I see Malik's face, and he's looking like that. That sounds nuts, but like I think he's going to go past the Saints.
I think he is going to pass, because he would have been on that list with everybody else instead of the so-called called draft party. I'm putting that in quotes.
No, he had already announced a long time ago that he wasn't going to the draft. He said
he wasn't going to be there.
Yeah.
What month was that?
He announced that back in like early February.
Yeah.
Okay.
During Black History Month.
Yeah. It was known that he wasn't planning on attending the draft. He was going to stay home with his family and enjoy it from there. So,
but you know who the NFL did invite to the draft?
Jackson Dart.
Jalen Milroe.
Yeah, they invited him, and he's going to be.
Which means
he might just be a story.
Which means he's expected to get drafted in the first 15 picks.
He might be expected, but he could be one of the stories that they just got him there just for the giggles and stuff like that, and end up going into the second round.
And of all the quarterbacks available, I heard this on Pro Football Focus, and I'm a subscriber of theirs, so I use their stats and their info because there's no reason to reinvent the wheel when it comes to football. I mean, you can say that, but it's useful. It's useful information. They said that he has the strongest arm out of any quarterback coming out of college. Not the most accurate, but he's the strongest.
He can throw it a mile. He could absolutely throw the ball through a brick wall. The problem is he can't hit the brick wall.
Yeah, that's going to be a big problem right there. Zach Wilson could throw out his mind too. Doesn't mean you have a good.
Having Richardson went top 5 to the Colts. That's all.
Having a great arm.
People make crazy decisions all the time.
Having a great arm is fantastic. You got to know how to get the ball to where you need to get this. Whether you have a great arm or whether you have a noodle arm, if you can get the ball to your receivers and not throw the ball to the other guy, you're fine. You're perfect. You'll be perfectly fine. Shedeur Sanders' ability to, thread the needle and get the ball out of his hands on target, and to the right team, to his guys is there. It's there.
He's the most accurate quarterback, which is why I think he should.
He has the ability to do it.
But I think teams are just being, I don't know, they're in their feelings. Either they're lying to us outright, and the Giants are going to take him.
I think this is just. I think it's just media.
Let me just throw this out right now. If his last name was not Sanders, would the media have been all hyped about him? He would have just fell into whatever place. Because that's what I think it is. It's just the hype about him that making him go up and down, whatever, in people's minds. People don't want to say that maybe he'll fall because of certain situations, like a team might not need him, just because his name is Sanders. They're too afraid to say that. That's what it seemed like to me.
if he was a random 4-star recruit and his dad hadn't been one of the greatest cornerbacks in the history of the NFL, coming off his past 2 seasons where he completed like 70% plus passes, even though there's a lot of like short passes in there and timing routes, he played with a guy who won the Heisman on both sides of the ball. So it's like, well, if you give him talent, he can win games. They went from 4 wins to 9 wins. And the year before they got there, they won 1 game. So like he turned around a team that was terrible in a conference that, wasn't easy to win. And
But
he
you
can
also got to
ball.
look at the team. The team changed too.
Yeah.
It's not like it's the same team that was horrible and then he just jumped on it and also they team times better. You got to look at it from
But
that
he's
point of view
also
as far
not
as from
short. He's
scouting
six
considers.
three. Yeah, he's 6'3" and he runs more like a 4'6" than he is like, a speedster like Dion. But like
What
he's
I'm what
athletic
I'm
enough.
mostly saying, would he be treated like the rest of the quarterbacks as after being drafted afterwards or in this class itself?
You mean if his name wasn't if his last name wasn't Sanders?
Right.
They would wonder why he was so arrogant, probably. To
He
me, it's
wouldn't
not a
be acting
shock
like
to me.
that.
It's because his
I don't
dad
think
is
he's
Deion Sanders.
I don't think
no.
he's arrogant. That's another thing I keep saying. I don't think like Malik was about to say, I don't think he's arrogant. It's just the way they perceive him because his last name is Sanders.
Well, what quarterback isn't?
Yeah,
What
of course.
quarterback doesn't believe in his abilities? What quarterback doesn't believe that he's the best?
You should say what
The
player,
best.
period. What NFL player?
Yeah, if
Even
you're
wide
if you're a
receivers are like that too.
if you're a professional athlete, you believe in your abilities to do what you need to do on the field. And he has, and it's not for
Yeah.
nothing, he has the credentials to back it up. I mean, it's not like his numbers are fine. The film is good. You know what you know what he's capable of, and you already know that he's playing on a team that had less than the top level talent in the
Yeah.
college ranks. He didn't have a great offensive line. A lot of people talking about that. There's literally only one draftable player other than Shedeur Sanders. There's only one other draftable
No,
player
no, no, no.
on,
There's 2 other
on
guys that are going to get picked.
they're not now they're not high level guys. They're not first rounders. They're
No,
not second rounders. They're probably day
they're
3
4th and
guys.
5th
And
round. Yeah, the
They're
day
day
three.
those guys.
there.
Hey,
The thing is that those
whoa,
guys
whoa,
might
whoa.
even be
Drafted is drafted, my friend.
those guys might even be
But
being bumped up just because of people hating on Shedeur right now.
but it's not, again, it's not everything that he does. To Ant's point, everything that he does is being picked apart and dissected primarily because of the fact that he is Deion Sanders' son and has been in the spotlight, in the NFL spotlight in the college spotlight and the NFL spotlight for the better part of the past, few years since he started at Jackson State. If he was just some random guy, honestly speaking, you hear
He
it all
even
the
got his own
time.
YouTube. Him and Travis Hunter.
We would have been talking about him because he would have been playing for Dion the
But
whole
we
time.
would have been talking about him in a positive light.
Right.
The way that
True.
the way that people talked about Trey, think about Trey Lance. Trey Lance came from,
Got a lot of
not,
hype coming
he
out
got
of
a lot of
North Dakota.
hype off of very little, productivity, at the college level. Got all this hype. The entire, all of the conversation about him was positive going into that draft. And all the conversation about Shedeur Sanders is negative going into this draft, despite the fact that he has better tape than Trey Lance, better pedigree, and he's a better college player. Like how many times? Like even enough
Even
nothing.
his off the
Mitch,
field thing is good. He's not really doing nothing but showing up on YouTube on his own channel.
Basically,
look at
he's a TV
Daniel
pitch man
Jones,
already.
Mitchell Trubisky, EJ Manuel, like all these guys
Never
that get
understood EJ Manuel. That
Ugh.
all these guys
Yeah, he's
that
a
get
burger.
boosted up, and for some reason there's always one or two guys who get pushed back. Zach Wilson got pushed up.
Yeah,
Uh, you
horribly.
know, how many of these guys get pushed up
oh Mac
because of
Mac
something that we saw.
Mac Jones,
Yeah, Mac
McCorkle,
Jones.
Yeah,
Because
Shedeur Sanders.
of what
old
team he was on.
McCorkle.
That's
Seriously.
my whole point. There is nothing that anybody can say about anything that Shedeur has done, either in the draft process, physically, with the game tape, or with anything that he did in his pro day, to warrant this like monumental slide down the draft board. We knew we knew he didn't have as great an arm as Cam Ward. That was already known when he made himself eligible for the draft. We knew he wasn't a great running quarterback. That was already well known. We knew he took a lot of sacks. That was already well known. We also knew that he threw for over like 4,000 yards last year. We
Mm-hmm.
also know that he threw for 20 some odd touchdowns and less than 10 interceptions. Like we already knew what this guy was capable of. So what are we saying? If he was the 16th or the 15th overall draftable player, regardless of position, at the beginning of this process, what happened to make him go to 26th? What happened? What happened? What did he do?
Nothing.
Nothing.
I can tell you what he did. He was too black.
Well,
It wasn't
I
too
mean,
black. He was too Sanders. He was acting too much like Deion Sanders.
You know
eh,
what? Some of
Oh,
that is one and the same. Some of that is one and the same, man. Some of that is one. They want you to be humble in the NFL for some reason.
but you know what,
To be
Ace?
humble.
You know what, Ace? Unfortunately, in 10 to 20 years, your son's gonna be acting just like you, and when he's too much acting like Liebird. He's too much acting like a Liebird. Because
You don't know what that
it's called your
means?
gene. It's called being he's actually your fucking son. What do you expect he's gonna act like?
and it's
That's fair.
and it's not, and he's nowhere near as
Cocky as Dion.
as cocky as his dad was.
And
He's
the funny
nowhere
true.
and the thing is
near
that
as cocky as his
I know
dad
both of y'all
was.
dads, and I can see some of your dad's traits in both of y'all.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
Because I actually,
I
because y'all know I hang out with y'all dads a long time with y'all not even being around. I would be hanging out with them and stuff like that.
yeah.
Especially your dad days. I had days that I would go from work and just to hang out with your dad and stuff like that, just chill or whatever at his job or
I'm a
whatever
lot.
before I
I
played
joke
my run over
around a
there.
lot more than he does.
Yes, but y'all both have
He always
traits.
takes
Yeah,
me much,
my
much
point
more
is that y'all both
serious.
have traits of your dads, and that's the same thing happens with him. What do you expect he's gonna act like? Like, come on
It's a
now.
good
And,
point.
and I like I said, my feeling on this has never changed. I just feel like there's a lot of this is probably the most hyperbolic of a draft pick that I've ever seen in terms of like
Well, no, you know what?
Wait till
Actually,
next
no,
year
that
when
was negative
they
information. I
boost up
take that
crap
back.
like wait till next
in
year when they
terms
boost the
of the
crap out of
negative.
Manning.
Yeah, I was going
No,
to bring up Laramie
in terms
Tunsil,
of
but
the
Laramie
negative.
Tunsil had that gas mask photo, which cost him a couple
Yeah,
million
it's in
dollars.
terms of the
Turned out to
negatives,
be his
and it's
stepdad, which was fucked up.
yeah,
You're
because
gonna see
but
the positive
even
next year. Watch.
right, no, but even and with the positives, we expect it. We expect the player to get bloated, to get their draft stock bloated. But usually, when your draft stock falls, it's because of something that happened. You ran slow at the combine. You have
Right.
an injury, a pre-existing injury that that pops up in you just you had a DUI or some kind of a legal situation happen. You
And I
took
think something like
like
that's what's real smart right
there's
now. I think that's something
there,
with him. That's like what you're saying.
yeah, you have a like so we talked to the guy and we believe that he has a bad motor, like he
Right.
doesn't love the game or anything
Right. He
like that.
takes all plays or whatever.
Right. We've heard none of this about him, but yeah, about shedeur, but yet his stock is falling. Right.
But I
It's
would like
like,
to point out they always
what?
talk themselves into a quarterback that tends not to work out, like Mitchell Trubisky. Like, I don't know. I keep harping on that because I'm a Bears fan. He was on my team and he was so sorry. But like, it didn't make sense to me considering like the amount of time. Oh, we go back to Ryan Leaf. They talked themselves into him. They talked themselves into Akili Smith. They talked themselves into who's that guy? He got drafted after it was like 2011. Jake Locker. They talked themselves into him, thinking he was going to be something. So there's always somebody that pops up like, oh yeah, I think this guy's going to work out. It's like, oh no, you find out very quickly. Kevin Cole, you're an Eagles fan back in the day.
Yeah,
They
which is
always
why
talk
again,
themselves into some random dude.
you know, I'm not saying that I hope that what I'm saying is I hope that shedeur gets drafted by a team that needs him, that's gonna play him, that's going to give him a true opportunity, a true shot to take over the number one job. Maybe not in the first year, maybe in the second year, whatever, and give him a chance to get a dub, to get it done. And then we'll see what happens. And if he does great, great. You
There is a
know,
possibility that the Bears trade up to get Ashton Jeanty, by the way. I've been hearing a lot of chatter about that from Bears beat reporters, outside of Bears fans, like people who actually cover the team, not from obviously the GM because he doesn't really talk much. I listened to the official podcast. They were just there's a lot of coach speak, there's a lot of GM speak. Like, yeah, we're just trying to draft the right guys for our culture.
Yeah, that's every team.
Culture.
They're not going to tell you what they're going to draft.
I don't even know why they put these things out. Except it's like, I guess they got some ads to sell, some local tire businesses.
No, they have to say these things because the media is right there, whatever, covering them. They got to keep up the contract, whatever BS. The media spins it how they want.
It's like,
but just to let y'all know, even though I just say I would take the over on Shedeur Sanders, I still on my final mock, I actually have him going to the Giants. I switched him over to going to the Giants.
3?
Yep.
So wait, let's go through your mock draft again.
Right now is Cam Ward going, of course, to the Titans. Travis Hunter going to the Browns. Shedeur Sanders going to the Giants. Abdul Carter going to the Patriots.
I got a question for you about Cleveland. Do you think it's possible Cleveland takes Abdul Carter?
Maybe. It's a maybe, okay. But I doubt it. But
they should,
but they won't.
I don't think they will.
All right.
Patriots get Abdul Carter. Mason Graham goes to the what's the name? Jaguars. Sorry, Ace. Chicago doesn't trade up in my thing.
Oh no, he's not getting them.
So Ashton Gentry goes to the Raiders. I hate this part, but the Jets get Ahmad Bembou. Jalen Walker goes to the Panthers. Actually, who do I got? Oh yeah, I got Kevin Banks going to the what's the name? The Saints. And I actually don't know who's the Bears going to take. But if anything, the Bears should just take the other running back, in my opinion. But
wait, Ashton Gentry hasn't come off the board yet in his mock.
Yes, I know. I had him go to the Raiders.
He had him go to the Raiders.
Oh, you got him go to the Raiders at 9.
So we'd have Hampton going to you guys at 10. He's talking about Hampton.
Nah, that's not gonna happen. We're not gonna do that. Although I do like Amari Hampton.
No, I'm just saying it should, but I don't know who the Bears will take.
Who's that? Who's that pass rusher linebacker? Did you say Jalen Walker already?
Yeah, I already said Jalen Walker going to the Panthers.
Then the Bears are probably gonna take
Mike Green.
Who's that tackle? No, Will Campbell. If he's not off the board, if Will Campbell is there, they're gonna take Will Campbell.
Yeah, that's a good idea
because Will Campbell tackle.
He's the best one that's there.
Yeah, they're gonna take Will Campbell if he's available. I that's what I believe because the GM is a former offensive lineman from BC. He didn't make it as one, and then he joined the front office of Kansas City. So he's probably going to draft the offensive tackle. Go ahead. I don't want them to take him. I want them to take that guy from Texas A&M, the defensive tackle. Y'all were talking about the pass rusher. Only had 1.5 sacks, but he had like all these pressures. He has like crazy.
Oh, Shamir Stewart.
Shamir Stewart. Yes.
Shamir Stewart.
Shamar Stewart. Yeah, Shamar Stewart. That guy is an athletic freak. And I watched some tape after you mentioned him, and I was like, God damn. The coaching in Texas A&M was preventing me from winning. So sorry to y'all fans that's spending all that money. I heard he already made $1.5 million, $2 million playing for that team. By the way, so go ahead.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I don't want Ahmad Bembou, but everybody keeps hyping him up on the Jets line, so I'll be disappointed again. They're acting like as soon as you get this guy, all of a sudden the world's gonna open up. Like what's the name from last year was chopped liver.
And one thing, if you give your boy some time, you give Fields some time, he can make some plays with his feet and with his arm. And you have better receivers than the Steelers had last year, so it should work.
But come on now, do you actually need to have a first round right tackle? Do everybody on the offensive line have to be a first round pick?
If you have a better offensive line than the other team, as the
just because you get
it goes really far.
Just because he's in the first round doesn't mean he's better. We've seen Bus going in the first round.
Yes, but how many offensive linemen have you seen be terrible in the first 5 picks if they get drafted? Not often.
Well, I'm getting flashbacks of what's the name right now. Even though he won a championship with the Eagles because they moved him to a guard, Mr. So-called fake ass left tackle.
Mekhi Becton.
Yes.
Yeah, but he wasn't a top 5 pick. He was like.
Yes, he was. Well, he's top 5. Actually, let me check. Let me check to make sure.
I think so.
Let me check right now.
I thought he went somewhere like 12 or 13, which is why they took him because they said it was a reach at the time. He came out of UMass.
Because the Giants wound up getting a better tackle. Where is he?
He's 11.
He was 11.
All right, so he's not top 5, but still.
It was a high pick. High-ish.
You know who went after him? Tristan Wirfs
No.
to the
Pretty
Buccaneers.
good.
Yeah, pretty
Pretty
good.
good.
Pretty good, my behind shit. You know, pretty good called Pro Bowler. Pretty good.
Yeah, but was he all pro though?
Well, I would say the 2020 draft, you get a mulligan because of COVID. Everybody gets a mulligan for that one.
And
It
Zach
was
Wilson
a
draft.
it was a weird process. Not a lot of guys, you didn't get the chance to see a lot of players in there. You didn't get a chance to see a lot of players, throughout the whole process, and really get a chance to, um, what do you call it? Evaluate them in the right way, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, it's to me. I think anybody, if you didn't draft well during that, like the Lions did not draft well. Actually, I think the first 3 or 4 picks. The first pick was Burrow, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Burrow went first. But then you got Chase Young. You got the Lions. No, the Lions drafted the kid from Ohio State,
Jeff Okudah.
Jeff Okudah. Um,
Andrew Thomas
Where
got
is he?
drafted.
He's still in the league.
Jeff Okudah is still in the league. I believe he was last I remember he was in Atlanta. Um, But
Okay.
there were a lot of and there's some guys that are still around. Tua is still there. Justin Herbert was drafted that draft. Like Anthony mentioned, Tristan Wirfs, Jerry Jeudy went there. Justin Jefferson was 22nd. Like if you really had a chance to look at him, do you think Justin
That is
Jefferson? Uh,
bananas.
You know
what
what?
the
They just needed
fourth
a wide
receiver?
receiver that year too.
Justin Jefferson was the fourth receiver taken in that draft
Saw
behind
I
that.
do
Henry.
know that. I didn't
Yeah,
realize he went that far.
Yeah,
Damn.
but behind the one who went behind bars, Henry Ruggs.
Yeah, he was behind Henry Ruggs, Jerry Judy, and no, he was fifth. I'm sorry. He went behind Henry Ruggs, Jerry Judy, C.D. Lamb, and Jalen Rager. And
Jalen
then,
Rager?
yeah.
Yeah.
So
The Eagles took Jalen Rager
the Eagles took Jalen
instead of
Rager,
taking him.
the pick before Justin
That's
Jefferson.
Yeah,
bad.
you remember seeing the clip they showed online for
Okay.
the Vikings? They showed the Vikings all hyped and stuff like that when Jalen
See,
Rager got picked.
yes, this goes to what I was talking about when people were talking about how there's a lot of less misses in the NFL draft, and
Yeah,
I'm like, not really. Like people make mistakes constantly about who they're picking away.
it's because they just
That
value them
is
differently.
nuts.
They don't take nobody else's opinion. They just value them differently.
Yeah. Wow. Well, considering the quarterback who won the Super Bowl went in the middle of the second round to the Eagles, I mean, it doesn't really matter where Shedeur Sanders goes. It just matters that he goes, like Malik said, to a team that gives him a real opportunity. Kind of like Michael Penix, who appears to be the starter for Atlanta this year. I know we're kind of jumping all over the place, but I will say if you want to make some money, you can bet Asher DC is minus 350 to be the first running back taken. So you're gonna have to put a lot of money down to make some money, but it's still pretty much worth it because there's
Did
no
they got
way another
they
running
got a
back
line
is
of how
taken.
many running backs taken in the first round?
Actually, no, but more than two would probably be plus something. I don't. The last two sports books I checked were FanDuel and DraftKings. I did not check BetMGM or BetESPN. BetESPN has some crazy promos going for the NFL draft because they're showing, I believe. So they're a little bit extra as opposed to the
That's
rest of them.
that's one thing we might have to have for next week as a special, or whatever. Since we come out the same day of, we can actually come out the same day as the draft on next week Thursday.
That is true. I
Yeah.
will drop that Thursday morning. I'll make sure to prep those. Yeah, I'll put together a sheet for everybody and send that out. We can drop that spreadsheet. We'll put on the blog for everybody at uptownparlay.com.
Yeah,
Definitely check us
we'll
out
make our
there.
picks.
Yeah. Was there any other draft stuff that y'all wanted to get into for the NFL? I know. Oh, I will say this. After listening to PFF, it reaffirmed my belief that Luther Burden Jr. will be the best wide receiver taken in this draft. He's faster. He's a better route runner than Tedero McMillan. Tedero McMillan is a bit slow for a big receiver. He runs a 4.6, 4.7 range. Luther Burden, 6'1" and a half, like 198, 205, much faster, same quality hands. He played with a so-so quarterback at Missouri. He only went there because they, in state, wanted to be close to home, made a bunch of money, for NIL. So I get it.
Would he be good
So
enough to be contending for Rookie of the Year?
they're saying he's Stephon Diggs good. That's what they're saying. And it makes sense. He's that good. He's Stephon Diggs kind of nice. Except
Wasn't Diggs in the second or third round?
Yeah, and the man he's made 5 Pro Bowls. Like he's pretty good. He won the, I get that Minnesota traded him, but Minnesota traded him and got Justin Jefferson, so it kind of worked out. But occasionally, you hit on a wide receiver, and then somehow you hit on an even better one. It's like how San Francisco drafted Jerry Rice, and then after that they drafted T.O. It's like, oh yeah, another Hall of Famer for another Hall of Famer. Sometimes it just works that way. You get
I
lucky.
don't dislike Burden. I just don't know that he's, a game changer level receiver yet. I wasn't crazy about in Missouri. You got to people remember in Missouri, he was all they had offensively. He was
Yes, and
literally
it
all they had.
worked. They knew he was throwing it. They knew they were throwing to him, and it still worked at the end.
And they moved him around, and they got him you're gonna have to use him in a lot of different ways. I just don't know that he's that level player on the NFL level. I'm open to seeing it. I think he's a first round pick. I definitely believe he's a first round pick, first round
He'll
worthy.
be the second receiver taken if you can find that bet to make. I believe he will be the second receiver taken because of the speed and the combination of
over Matthew over Golden.
Over Matthew Golden, yeah, I believe that. That is my opinion, but I'm not in the industry or anything. As someone who will be betting on sports, yes.
Over Golden and McMillan.
Although then again, I am also the same person who, right before the All-Star break, put $20 on the San Antonio Spurs to make the playoffs. So.
Yeah, I could have told you not to do that.
I'll put that as a caveat.
Oh no, he was told.
Anthony, the goddamn blood clot.
Anthony, he was told. He was told.
No, I did that, and I said I think they'll still make it. They got De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah,
I said Sacramento's gonna fall, and Sacramento did. They fell to 9, and then the AD trade happened. I was like, wait, what? And I was like, oh, well, Dallas is cooked because AD got hurt, and then yeah, it happened. But
yeah, I barely know a lick of basketball, but I could have told you that.
Oh, Arsenal won. Arsenal won in the Champions League. And speaking of Arsenal, as Malik mentioned last week, the same person who owns Arsenal, Stan Kroenke, owns the Denver Nuggets. And he was the one who fired both his coach and then his GM immediately after, which is the coldest move I think I've seen in the NBA in ever. I don't think I've ever seen that. With 4 games to go into the playoffs, they were like, you can leave, and also you can leave. Because I think they're in the 3rd seed, right?
They are
so they're going to
the 4 seed.
The 2 seed. They're the 4 seed. So they're playing the Clippers in the first round.
Yeah, they play the Clippers in the first round.
Which to me is the most interesting series because Kawhi Leonard and Anthony, I think the last time you pay attention to basketball, he won the championship in 2019 with Toronto Raptors.
Oh, Anthony wasn't paying attention to basketball then.
Oh, I knew about
6
it.
years ago?
He knew about it.
But I wasn't really paying attention.
But again, that's knowing the champion. You know who wins the championship. You don't have to.
Kawhi,
you don't have to watch the game. You don't have to watch basketball. You don't have to watch any NBA basketball to know who won the championship. If you just pay attention to sports, pay mild attention to sports, you know.
Kawhi's knee is healthy, and they're gonna make a run for it.
You can't say that. You can't say that word in San Antonio. Just to let you know.
Kawhi?
Yes.
He won y'all a title. Don't be so salty, San Antonio. Be happy he was. Don't be sad that he left. You got y'all DeMar DeRozan. What did y'all do with DeMar DeRozan?
Anyhow,
what I gotta say. Yeah.
I'm just going to ask Malik this question because I doubt you know this, Ace. But I'm going to ask Malik this question: who's going to win the Stanley Cup playoffs?
I know.
The bracket's already set. This shows here right now: Maple Leafs versus Senators, Lightning versus Panthers, Capitals versus Canadians. Let's see here: Hurricanes versus Devils. Oh, you see, the Jets do make it into the playoffs somehow. Winnipeg Jets versus Blues.
That's funny.
Stars versus Avalanche. Golden Knights versus Wild. And let me see, Kings versus Oilers. Yeah, that's it.
Do you know where the Minnesota Wild play at?
You just said it.
You said Minnesota.
I wanted to see if you picked up on that.
Yeah, okay. But anyway, like I said, I was just asking Malik this question because I know he's the only one out of the 3 of us that actually know about this.
No, Ace watches a little bit of hockey.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
I watched 3 games this year. I watched all the games they played
Ace,
outside.
Ace only
Just for
watches
the
a hockey
Browns.
game
Yeah.
if it's in a bar somewhere.
I'll tell you, yeah, that's true. And I live in New England, and I still don't give a shit. They love hockey up here. I only watched the games that they played outside, and I was like, that was in January. She was like, "Are you watching hockey? Are you serious right now? Are you serious?"
It's a natural environment.
I checked in on some of the games, especially towards the end of the season. I was rooting for the Rangers to make it get that last wild card spot. They unfortunately did not. Um, I I don't know if this is going to be Alex Ovechkin's last year playing, but the Caps, his Washington Capitals are the number one seed, are a number one seed in the Eastern Conference. So I expect to see them pull all the way through. I know the Devils, they're representing obviously, the northeastern sector there. The Devils are in as a 3 seed. I'll be want to see what happens with them. I think right now, if I had to put money on it, I would on the Eastern Conference side, I would go Caps, and on the Western Conference, I would go Golden Knights. Although I do think the Jets and the Blues have a shot as well. So,
Yeah, go
You know
Jets.
what? I don't. I don't know a goddamn thing about hockey, but I did just check the standings. Right, the 2 winningest teams in hockey are the Winnipeg Jets at 56 and 22. They play
hmm
84 games.
Yeah,
Right, the
84 games a
season's not
season.
over
Yep.
yet. Okay,
No,
so they're
season's
at
over.
80.
Season's
Season's
over.
over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Are you sure?
that's what I was
Some
just saying.
teams
Yeah,
have
yeah.
only played
Everything. No,
81 games.
no, that's why I was mentioning because all their
No,
brackets set.
the playoffs start on
No, the
Saturday.
Rangers play
Mhm.
tomorrow. The Rangers, yeah, the regular season's not over. The Rangers haven't lost their final
No,
game.
but the brackets already set though.
Yeah, pretty. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
That's the
Okay.
reason I was reading off an ESPN article. The brackets already set.
Why are you giving away the game, man? Why are you telling them what you're doing?
Hey, you did it earlier. I'm just doing the same thing you're doing.
Fair enough.
Just saying something. Advertising somebody that doesn't pay us.
Be better than me. Be better than me. No. Toronto and Winnipeg are the 2 best teams. And being as Canada still booing the national anthem because of factors outside of our control, I would say if you can find this bet in any sports book, bet any Canadian team in the playoffs to win the Stanley Cup. Hasn't happened in like 20 plus years. There's got to be pretty good odds on it, especially if you take Winnipeg, which is like the smallest market team that I think is in the playoffs, outside of like somehow North Carolina still has a professional hockey team. I don't know how that shit works, but okay. And yeah, Toronto, which I don't think they've won since color TV was invented. So there's that. So I would just put some money on that because that's got to be a super long shot. But I will look up those odds and actually post that to the blog as well. I may just put some money on that. Who knows?
Sounds like you're about to put some money on it.
I mean, if it's plus like 300-400 bucks, like yeah, it's like the year. Listen, I put money on Milwaukee when they won their title, and I was like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. They were plus 450, and I was like, they're gonna win the championship. So yeah, sometimes you just gotta take a long shot. Sometimes you just gotta be like, you know what? I think they're gonna win. It's like betting the Cavs to make the finals. Like nobody believes they will, even though they're the 1 seed, but they got a chance.
Let's see here.
And to preview the rest of the NBA finals, although the Florida Panthers did win, they didn't win their division, but they are leaders. They did, yeah, they're in the playoffs, but they
Oh
got to go to
wow.
Tampa. That's interesting. Well, shout out to my
Uh,
Arsenal who won.
okay, I just checked Chat GBT, so it's never wrong. It says the Winnipeg Jets is going to win everything.
Oh, okay. Well then, yeah, do what I said and bet the Canadian teams. Take all of the Canadian teams against the field to win the Stanley Cup final.
Go
Lock
against
it in.
Chat
That's right.
GPT.
That's my hot take. That is my hot take. Take any Canadian team to win the Stanley Cup, and take the Knicks to go to the NBA Finals.
Oh wow.
1 game better than last year.
So
Nobody
you think
believes in them.
so? The Knicks are going to go all the way
Everybody's
to the
down
NBA
on them.
playoffs, NBA
Bet them.
finals.
Bet the Knicks to win the Eastern Conference. That's right.
So
Jalen Brown's knee is fucked up. I don't believe that he can get healthy. Nobody cares who wins the game between Dallas and Sacramento, even though it's pretty entertaining. Shout out to TNT. This is going to be your last playoffs. But yeah, I think they can wrap that up. And Orlando won, so Orlando's playing Boston, and the Knicks are going to be playing Detroit. Detroit's already scared because I saw that they're not selling tickets to anybody from New York, New Jersey, or Pennsylvania.
But that's what Craig Carton said too. He was saying that they're scared.
They shook.
But then you had
How
Detroit
shook
fans
you
in
got
the
to be to
comments
not
was
sell
saying that
tickets to
he's not
people
scared. They're not
from
scared.
PA? Like, there's nobody from New York who's ever moved to Detroit or Illinois.
They just want their
You can't
fans
get
there.
tickets.
That's all it is. This is not the first time I've seen something like that before. They just
We
want
will,
they want to have the home field advantage, the home court advantage.
Knicks fans will pay $600 for a $125 seat and be there in Detroit just to boo the Pistons.
Knicks fans would pay $2,000 for a nosebleed seat all the way up in the Raptors somewhere in space just to see.
The same way we did, exactly the same way we did. We was booing Joel Embiid when his face was last year, winning the first round, just to say we was in the building because we care that much. But I will say this: did either of you see the playoff game, the play-in game last night between Golden State and Memphis?
I sure did.
How?
Yeah, I watched the whole game.
What did you think of Golden State having to take all of those foul shots just to get a 5-point win over a Memphis team that everybody thought that they were just going to give them the business to?
Well, it's the playoffs. And at the end of the day, the playoffs, it's a different beast, it's a different animal. They were up 20.
Yeah.
They were up 20 in the game. Memphis came back. Memphis made a run. You expect it's the NBA. They're gonna make runs, but runs happen all the time. And the reality of the situation is, what we know about Memphis and what we know about Golden State is that they're small. They don't have any size. So Memphis, a lot of what they did, in terms of when they came back was in the interior. They were taking the ball to the basket and they were getting the ball to the basket. They were kicking the ball down to 7'4" Zach Edey, who had like 20 and I believe he had a double-double. Triple J had a good game as well. And they were led by Desmond Bain, who hit like 6 threes in the game. So it was Memphis played a good game. I'll give Memphis a lot of credit. They played a much better game than people expected them to, and they gave Golden State everything that they could manage in that game and almost won it. Um, and the fact of the matter is, Memphis got about 3 or 4 free throws towards the end of that game on some phantom calls that nobody believes were fouls. Um,
Phantom
there were
calls,
some,
you say?
yeah, there were some phantom foul calls. There's
Okay.
specifically there was a block that Brandon Pajemski got on a fast break against, I can't remember who it was that was taking the layup, where replay showed it was an absolutely clean block.
Wow.
Was a clean chase down block that he got. Um, and then there was another one where I believe it was Kevin Looney and Zach Edey were fighting for a rebound, where we're going for a rebound. The loose ball foul was called on Looney, and when you watched it, he didn't even touch the guy. And that led to 3 free throws that were made by the Grizzlies that made the game closer. So should it have been as close as it was? No, but it definitely, and the officiating was definitely poor on both sides. But Memphis played a good game, and give them credit where it's due. I think that the Warriors, did what they were supposed to do. Steph had a great game. I think he had 37, and Jimmy Butler had 38 on extremely efficient play. And unfortunately for them, that's probably gonna be something they're gonna have to do the entire playoffs between the two of them. They will have to do that all the time because they don't get a lot of offensive productivity from anyone other than those two. So we'll see
Kevon
how they.
Looney.
Yeah.
Malik, who do you think is older, Kevon Looney or the team that they're going to play in the first round? Fred, who's the point guard for Houston?
Ooh, Van Vliet.
Uh, Fred VanVleet. Who do you think is older?
Looney's older.
You sure about that?
I believe so. Van
Is
Vliet
that
is
your
still.
final
Fred
answer?
VanVleet.
I believe
Fred
Van Vliet is like in
VanVleet.
his late 20s.
Incorrect. Fred VanVleet is 31 years old. Kevon
Okay.
Looney is the oldest 29-year-old man in America.
Okay.
He was born in 1996. He's the oldest 29-year-old you have ever seen in your life.
I mean,
Somehow he's been in the NBA for a decade,
yeah,
and
he's
he
been in
looks
the
like
league
he's
for a long
36
time.
and a half.
He's in the league for a
Playing
long time. I
for
mean,
that team has
Van
aged
Vliet,
him.
I'm not surprised because Van Vliet did play 4 years in college,
That is correct. That was a trick question,
so I'm
but
not surprised that Van Vliet is older than him.
I knew the answer. If Van Vliet is healthy, I think they're going to beat the brakes off the Warriors because Houston's defense is relentless, and that team has an identity, and they play tough as hell. They are the better version of what the Detroit Pistons are. And I will say this to everybody who thinks the Knicks aren't going to win, in the spirit of Unk Shay Shay, I don't care where they play. I don't care who they play. I don't care how many players are on the court. I don't care who walks onto the court. Knicks in six. Okay? It's going to happen. I'm not going
Well,
to sit here
six.
and come up with some silly rhyme, but I don't
Well,
care
six.
if it's in the
Six.
Garden or Pardon or they got James Harden. Knicks in six.
Well, six assumes that it's going to be a good series. That
No,
it's going to
six
be
assumes that the Knicks are going to win one on the road. They're going to win the first three, lose the fourth game, lose the second game, and then go beat them in their house because they
right,
want to. Well,
right.
actually, I should
And
say beat them live.
if you lose
Yeah,
2 games in a series, that makes it a series. That means it's a series. That means
it's
it's a
not really
series.
serious until you lose on your home court.
Exactly. And
So
if
it'll
you're
be
saying
two
the Knicks going to
two.
win their first three, then that means that the Knicks going to lose a game at home.
You know what? It's going to be 2-2, and then the Knicks are going to win the next two. How about that? And
And again,
I'll put it to you
if
even
it's
better
two
than
two, that
this.
means it's tied. Look, I think it's going to be a great
We
series.
traded them Jalen
I
Duren, and Carl
yeah,
Anthony Towns is going to give him the goddamn business. He's going to give him 40 points a game
I
every game in the series.
I believe it should be a good series. It's probably going to be the most competitive series in the entire Eastern Conference playoffs, at least the first round, at
Eh,
least.
I want
I
to see what
think I
Giannis
think
does. He's been talking a lot of shit.
I don't think it's going to be. I don't think that's going to be a very competitive series.
You don't think so? You don't think Giannis will just go out there and
Mm.
score 40 every night?
I think he will. And
40 and
they'll still
20?
lose by 15. So, um,
You think Pacers are that good?
I think the Bucks are just not that good. The Bucks are
Oh.
Giannis and not much else. Um,
Dame might come back. He's threatening to,
he's not
even with
looking
a
like he's
blood
going to be
clot
back for
somehow.
game one. So no, I think the best series so far. We don't know what the 1-8 with the 1-8 matchup is
Oh,
going
who
to look like
cares?
yet until Friday, but Cleveland should beat the brakes off of whoever's coming out of there. Boston will likely handle Orlando pretty easily. The Knicks will take care of Detroit, and I believe in six as well. I think that's a fair assessment there. I think that's going to be that's going to be um, the best series. And I think Indiana beats Milwaukee. So that's my first round. On the West side, I say
You think Orlando gives Boston problems?
no, no. I just hope they beat them in. I hope they get a game out of them.
I
I
think they
hope they
take
do.
them to seven. And I
I
know
don't
that
believe
sounds
so.
insane, but I think they take them to seven.
I hope they get them in 5. I hope they make them get a game. Um, on the West side, I'm gonna say Oklahoma City. They'll beat whoever's coming out of the 8 seed there. It's going to be Memphis or the winner of this game that we're watching right now. I don't think OKC is going to have trouble against either one of those teams. I pick Golden State to beat Houston in 6. I like the Lakers over the T-Wolves in 5, and I like the Clippers over the Nuggets in 6.
You don't think Anthony Edwards is going to take more than one game off of them?
No, I don't. I don't
He's going to live in the
because
paint.
I think Anthony Edwards is going to have it is going to play well. I think he's going to do what he needs to do. But I think that the combined firepower of LeBron and Luca is just going to be too much for them. Now, one of those guys gets hurt, has a bad game, whatever, then you're sure. There's obviously the opportunity there. But I think if fully healthy, I think the Lakers will figure it out and they'll take out the T Wolves in 5. I mean,
Are you
the
counting
main
out Julius Randle?
I'm absolutely doing that. And that's the reason. That's the reason why I think
God damn.
no, to me, he's the X factor in that
The
series.
disrespect.
He's
The
the
If
reason why he's on that
disrespect.
team in the first place, and he sucks.
he's the X
He's on that
factor
team because
in this
Carl Anthony
series.
Towns is better. That's why he's on that team.
Julius Randle is the X factor in this series. If he plays well and he's a viable number 2 scoring option on this team, consistent, you know, consistent play, doesn't fall in love with the 3-pointer, it doesn't put his team in bad situations. I think they'll be fine, and I think they'll take it to at least 6. If he
Got a
doesn't,
question though.
it's
Who's he gonna
Lakers in
guard?
5. Well, he doesn't
And by
guard
who I
anybody
mean
anyway.
Luca. So who's Luca gonna guard? Him?
Nobody. Luka's not guarding anybody either.
So Luca's not gonna play no defense, but the
No.
Lakers are still
I
gonna
mean,
win.
he'll show up, he'll physically be on
All
the
right,
floor, but he's not guarding anybody.
he's gonna show up. All right.
You know, I
I'd
think the
like to point out that
Lakers.
the Lakers have won one more game during the regular season than the Minnesota Timberwolves. One game.
Yeah, but they've been like the second
One
best
game.
team in the NBA since the trade. So
Yeah, you know who's the third best team?
The Knicks.
No. The third best team since the All-Star break has been not OKC, has been Houston. But
yeah,
nobody here believes that the Houston Rockets are going to go to the NBA Finals.
too young. I look. I'm never going to bet on a team. I would never bet on a team that's got where nobody on that, none of their best players have any playoff experience.
Fred
Zero.
Van Vliet is a NBA champion, sir. Put some
Zero.
respect on his name.
No, he's not their best player.
NBA
He's not
and
their best
Fred
player.
Van Vliet is their best player. He's
No,
an
he's not.
NBA champion.
He is not their best
And
player.
he
He
is.
is not their second best player. He may be
Who's
their
their
third
second?
best player.
Who's their best player then?
Alperen Sengun is their best player. He's the only all-star on the team.
Okay. Who's the second best player?
Jalen Green.
You are out of your mind. Okay. All right.
Fred Van Vliet is the leader. He ain't the best player.
NBA champion Fred Van Vliet.
He is the leader on that team. He's the vet. He ain't the damn best player on that team. Not even close.
All right.
And if Amin Thompson actually has a jump shot, he's the third best player of that team. If he can shoot a jumper.
Who do you think is going to make it to the? Who do you have? Do you think the Knicks are going to win in 5, 6, or 7, or not? A lot of people are picking the Knicks to lose in the first round.
Well, I like that rap song you made earlier with the Knicks in 6, so I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, thank you. Bars. God damn, Clay.
Bars on top of bars. You be battling Eminem. Bars on top of bars. Let's
I
go.
don't know about all that. He's going to have to come to every game for them to win. He might not want to go to this one. They better not have Lonzo open up like they did for the Lions. They're going to start calling him a mush. So Lonzo, sorry, not Lonzo. Lonzo, LaMelo, and Leangelo. He was the one, Jello. He was the one with the song.
And Jello.
Yeah. I really don't care who wins this 10-9 game between Sacramento and Dallas, but I would like to see Dallas win. I feel bad for their GM because they keep asking them questions about that damn trade.
Oh, I didn't mean to ask you. If the Knicks doesn't go that far, and what's the name winds up getting
I'm showing up at the
unemployed.
stadium with fire. I'm showing up at the stadium with fire. With trade Mikal Bridges.
No. I was going to say, if what's the name gets unemployed, which coach do you think that will be a good coach to coach the Knicks to replace him?
In my opinion, Mike Budenholzer. I'm not joking. Mike Budenholzer or Frank Vogel. The last two coaches that the Phoenix Suns hired, both of which have won a championship more recently and have been to the finals multiple times, as opposed to the guy that we currently have for the Knicks, Tibbs, who has worn his team down to a nub.
I'd say who I
tired
want
of his
them to
shit.
bring back, who I want the Knicks to hire. It's never happened, but I'd want the Knicks to bring in Jeff Van Gundy. I want Jeff Van Gundy back on the bench.
You want crusty old Jeff Van Gundy to come back.
Why has he got to be crusty old?
Jeff Van Gundy has done a fantastic job.
Because he's in his 60s. That's why.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. There's coaches that have been older than him.
And he's done an absolutely fantastic job with the Clippers this year. He's been
why not Phil Jackson?
On the bench with no, I don't, because Phil Jackson's not coaching anymore. That's dumb. That's not, that doesn't make any sense. Jeff Van Gundy is back to coaching. He's clearly has the ears of the players,
Wait,
and
where's
everybody's
he
been talking
coaching?
about how he's coaching with the Clippers right now. He's on
I think that's Stan Van
Tyronn Lue's
Gundy.
staff. No, it
I
is
think that's
Jeff Van
Stan.
Gundy on Tyronn Lue's staff. He is
I'm
coaching currently
laughing because it was funny that Ace is cutting you off with wrong information.
with incorrect information.
Yes,
Yeah,
incorrect information. Like, bro, making shit up.
Hold on. Hold on. Go ahead,
And now
Mike.
he's
Go ahead.
checking, and now he's
you
over there
need
checking,
you,
checking.
you
That's
need to
right.
check.
You should have been
That's
fact
right.
checked it before you said it.
You don't need to check. That's who I would love to bring back. He already has New York roots. He's already been here before. He knows what it's, what it needs to bring a team. And I believe that this team needs a voice like his to resonate with this squad. I don't think it needs to be a young coach. I think it needs to be a veteran coach that has had success in this league. Maybe not a championship in his
None of
past
the
because
guys I named are young.
what do you say? I was talking about the guys you named.
No, we were
I didn't,
talking about that. You're falsifying, talking about it was Stan Van Gundy on the.
I didn't say
I
anything about
thought
the
it was
guys you
Stan.
named. I have
They
no
look a lot
problem with the
alike.
guys that you named.
How you gonna say they look alike? Stan Van Gundy's fat as a balloon, man. Come on.
I just don't
Wow.
necessarily.
Shots
I
Hey,
just
fired.
don't.
hey, I can say that I'm fat too.
I just don't necessarily think that Frank
Fat on fat
Vogel
crime.
or Mike Budenholzer. They
I
don't. They
need
don't.
someone who's won a title before who could put together a championship roster.
Wow.
Neither one of them did that. Frank Vogel.
They
Frank Vogel
coached
won.
that team to a
Frank
title.
Vogel won with LeBron James and Anthony Davis,
KD and Dwight Howard.
Yeah, that don't count.
and Mike Budenholzer
It does count.
won with Giannis. Yeah, I mean, like we
And
don't have.
he
Look,
won with Giannis and also Drew Holiday.
exactly. But he won with superstar, best player in the league talent. We don't have one of those.
Okay,
We
we
don't have one
do.
of those. No, no, no. We don't have one of
His
those. I love
name
Jalen
is
Brunson.
Jalen Brunson.
I love Jalen Brunson, but we don't have one of those.
His name is Karl Anthony Towns.
I love Karl Anthony Towns. We don't have one of those.
His
Sorry.
name's gonna be Kevin
Karl,
Durant next year.
I'd
His
like to
name,
point out this.
his name's gonna be Kevin Durant.
Karl Anthony Towns played well enough to beat Nikola Jokic last year in the playoffs. Just saying.
He didn't do it. Did he
Same
do
guy we're
it?
talking about here.
Did he do it?
He did beat them, yes.
No. Did they win? They
Hey, listen, it's not his fault that nobody decided to show up for the goddamn Western Conference Finals. Okay,
he didn't play
it's
very
not
well
his fault.
against the Mavericks in that series.
Yeah, neither did Gobert. Either. Neither did Nas Reed. Now, there's a lot of blame to go around. I think he's been playing better because he's back home in New York. I think he wants to be a Knick. I think he's going to show up and he's going to show out. So that's just my opinion. I am being a homer, but this is the best year he's ever had statistically. Just saying.
I hope Tibbs doesn't get fired. I hope that he
I
gets the
don't
team
give
to
a
the
damn.
second round of playoffs, and I hope that he definitely adds some members to his assistant coaching team that can juice up the offense a little bit because I think the fact that the Knicks still don't play with great pace in a league that's all about you know getting up and down the floor and taking a large percentage of shots, to me it just doesn't bode well for the team, and the rotations are still, despite the fact that the Knicks players, nobody I don't think anybody on the Knicks was number one in minutes per game, but
No,
they
but collectively
definitely.
they were. That's a lineup.
Right. It's a collective lineup. He trusts his guys. I don't think they're gonna get run down this playoffs, but if they do, and that winds up backfiring on him, maybe he just needs to get some help on his bench. Maybe that's where you bring in a Budenholzer. Maybe that's where you bring in a Vogel or somebody to be to be on his assistants, and then you get some help there. I think we reset it from that perspective. That's my hope. If we get rid of
Do you
Tibbs,
think it's okay?
if we get rid of Tibbs, to me, it's waving a white flag that this team has a ceiling, and then I think you kind of start to reset things a little bit, which I don't particularly like with a team that's only 1 year into their respective this respective
Well,
lineup.
well, then there's no way they're running it back.
I don't think they completely run it back. I think you make some small adjustments if you need to. You make some adjustments, but I don't think the adjustments have to be major. Firing the coach, that's a major adjustment.
All right.
That's a major change. I don't think you have to do
Do
that.
you think Golden State gets out of the first round?
Yes,
And this is a question to both of y'all. And
I believe so. And Clay Thompson is going off right now.
good. I want him to.
Clay is killing.
Tired of the goddamn Kings. Light the beam, my ass. I believed in y'all. Y'all lost me money.
Hey, just because they lost you money, you hating on them now.
I'm hating on them because they traded away their best player in De'Aaron Fox. They fired their head coach like 35 games into the season when they had a winning record. Then they proceeded to go on and have a losing record after they fired him. And what was their decision? Oh, let's load up on Josh Levine. Let's trade for an untradeable contract from Chicago and just play a guy at a position at point guard who's never played at point guard. Well, yeah, and then our second best player, who's Demonis Bonus, who just did a documentary on Netflix. He wants to go. He wants to get out of here because he's tired of not being in the playoffs. So yeah. Everybody who's a part of the Kings associate like Kings team is just it's slowly falling apart. And their interim coach is Doug Christie, who I'm not a fan of. Former Nick,
The ace is not
just
down with the king.
just not a fan. I'm not down with the Sacramento Kings. Their team is named after a website that sounds like you've gone there to buy sleeping pills. The Golden One Center.
So in
Sounds
this,
like they sell Chinese. Sounds like they
so,
sell Chinese food on their website.
so in this game, you're rooting for the team that's owned by a casino.
I'm rooting for Anthony Davis to get into the playoffs, just to prove everybody that he is not Mr. Glass.
Well, I would hope that Anthony Davis does get in the playoffs and they want to meet the Lakers and they want to beat the Lakers because that'd be so awesome to see him pass the Lakers.
That would be
Because
tremendous. And for
LeBron
that to
had
happen,
something to do with that trade.
well, he knew he got traded. I don't think he had something to do with it, but come on, man. Like you telling me
He
I can
put his
get
rubber
Luka
stamp on it.
Doncic?
You telling me that he couldn't stop the trade? Come on
Oh
now.
hell yeah. Oh hell yeah. But like you're telling me I can get Luka Doncic? I'm gonna give you Luka Doncic 9 times out of 10. Like that's 100%. I'm gonna make it. That'd be like saying, oh, the Jets can trade for who's the quarterback from Tennessee? Who's the quarterback from not Tennessee from the Houston Texans? That'd be like if the Jets could trade for him right now. You'd be like, hell yeah. Who the fuck do you need?
Levis?
Yeah, not Levis. Houston Titans.
Oh, he's about Stroud.
You
Yeah,
talking about Houston Texans?
if the Jets could trade, if the Jets or the Giants could trade for C.J. Stroud, they'd be like, who do you need? How many first round picks do you want? We will do that shit today.
Well, the
Press
Jets won't
the
trade, but the
button.
Giants would.
We'll give you free season tickets so you can come see him play on our team. How about that? Like they would do whatever you needed. The Jets would do it. The Giants would do it.
The
They would
Bears would
trade
do
you.
it.
The Bear. Listen, if they didn't have Caleb, they might.
No, they would.
The Lions might even do it. The Lions might be like, so we'll give you Goff and who else? They would do that right now. A 24-year-old starting quarterback who's been to the playoffs twice and is a Pro Bowler. Hell yeah,
Dang,
hell
Jason
yeah.
Kidd look like an old man. He makes me feel
He
old.
is. He's 55.
He
He was
makes
a
me feel
rookie in
55.
1990. He was a rookie when we were sophomores in high school.
He doesn't even look like he ever even played in the NBA before. He just looks like a coach that just shows up, that was in your gym teacher or something like that.
Oh, come on.
Especially with those glasses. Come on now. He looked like a gym teacher. Like this is all
I was getting back into it.
like, that's all you gotta
We
do,
are
man.
gonna we are gonna get into our shout outs. There's been shows been all over the place.
You can
Got
see it
Big
just
Big on the
dragging.
odds. It is. I've just been kind of talking, being random and watching the game as we go along. But it's been fun for us. So I hope it's been fun for y'all listening. We've been changing up the format a bit since basketball is on. I am in betting on UFL, but it's been hard to find lines outside of ESPN bet. I will say the St. Louis Battlehawks are a beast. That quarterback, I think his name is Luis something. He is going to be on. He's going to be like a third down. He's going to be an emergency quarterback for somebody. He's going to end up being like the Bears, like third string quarterback, or some team. Some team is going to sign that dude. St. Louis Battlehawks quarterback he's out there balling. Man's making plays. I'm genuinely enjoying that terrible football by just watching them, especially because the NFL stole their team. So shout out to them. Shout out to the most improbable NBA team to ever win a championship, which would be, in my opinion, the '79 Supersonics. the only team in NBA history to not have a top 75 player on their team. Every other team that has ever won a championship has had a top 75 player. All of them. Every single one of them, except for them. Oh, and I take that back, except for them and last year's champion, the Boston Celtics, because nobody on their team had a long enough career to make the top 75 list. But when the top 100 list comes out, I imagine Jason Tatum or Brown will eventually end up being on the top 100 list. So shout out to the 79 Sonics, and shout out to the NBA playoffs, and shout out to Canada winning the Stanley Cup this year. Go Canucks or Canadians or Jets or whoever the hell's up there. Go ahead.
um, I forgot. Oh yeah, shout outs to Christoph Porzingis. Sorry you couldn't make it to the tonight's show. I know you wanted to make it, but the flight got canceled, so you couldn't make it to your computer in time. Shout outs to you. Um, Shout outs to the I want to butcher their names, Aisha Bowie and Amanda Nguyen, two actual astronauts that went to space. Aisha Bowie is a former NASA rocket scientist, and Amanda Nguyen is a bioastronautics research scientist as well.
What the hell are
I'm
you
not gonna.
talking about?
I'm talking about the flight crew of the USS Mandingo. I mean the Blue Origin
Oh my God.
ship that
That's
went to
ridiculous.
space. I don't.
People
I'm
are
not.
way too mad at Katy Perry about that, by the way. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, yeah. Nobody cares. Why they mad at Katy Perry? Because she paid almost the same amount of it costs to buy a house down here in Texas just to fly into space for 11 minutes.
How much
Come
does
on,
it cost?
like 100 something thousand dollars just for a down payment
That's pretty cheap, actually, to go to
for
space.
them, not for us. That's a house.
Oh,
That's
I mean,
pretty.
she's got she's got 9 number 1 singles. I think she's earned it. She wants to go to space like Katy Perry go to space.
Yeah. So, but the thing is that now they actually throw out that they throwing out theories now that it's going to rival the moon landing for years about how they didn't really go into space because Jeff Bezos' wife or whatever, quite silicones didn't explode and stuff like that. So they trying to say that they really went to space. And when they landed, the door was kind of open already and they pretended to close it and stuff. But anyway, shout outs to them for doing what they're doing. Like I said, I'm only going to mention those two real scientists. I'm not going to count the pass. I'm not going to count the passengers. Shout outs to them. Oh yeah, my final shout outs is to Woody Johnson's Please Sell the Team. You fucking suck.
Yeah, believe.
This Woody Johnson slander is hilarious, by the way. It's just great. um, Shout out to all of the ladies that were drafted yesterday. Was it yesterday? No, 2 days ago.
Oh yeah, I forgot
In
about that.
the
Yeah, shout outs to
Yeah.
WNBA
them. I end
draft.
as well.
WNBA draft.
The WNBA draft was 2 days ago, and it was a good event. I watched.
Who was the second pick?
Um, who was the second pick? I can't
I
remember.
forgot that team, but she's supposed to be the female one. What's the name?
No. You're
Yambi
talking about Paige Beckers went first. It was the forward that went second. The hell is her name?
from
Damn
France.
it. Yeah. She could ball.
Yeah,
She
that's
gave
gonna
the
be.
U.S. women
Citron.
trouble.
Yeah, so I didn't
She's
have a WNBA team, but now I do. I'm
Dominique
gonna be following
Malonga.
that team. That's gonna be my team.
Dominique Malonga went second.
you have a team. They're called the Liberty. You sell out. What the hell are you talking about?
I never was a Liberty fan.
Well, I'm gonna say shout out to him. I was
Sorry, Malik.
no, that's fine. It's fine. I was happy. Shout out to Anissa Moreau, LSU power forward, number 24 on the LSU Lady Tigers. She was drafted seventh to Connecticut, and former LSU point guard Haley Van Lith, who went to TCU, who transferred to TCU last year, she was drafted 11th to the Chicago Sky, so she will be teaming up with Angel Reese again over there in Chicago. I think Chicago is going to have a really good team, really interesting team next season. Um, and so yeah, I look forward to the WNBA season kicking off very very soon. I think May 16th is when they start playing. Still just ridiculous to me how fast their draft comes right on the heels of their March Madness ending, and then they get drafted, and then they start playing, live basketball, immediately following that. So, again, schedule is crazy, but shout out to those ladies for getting there. Shout out to Former Tennessee Vols quarterback, now soon to be UCLA starting quarterback, Nico. I hope I'm gonna destroy your name. Sorry, I am Aleva. Um,
No, Yamalava.
Yamalava. Okay,
Correct.
Nico Yamalava. Um, Look, this is the first of likely many situations where the NIL, where the NIL, leads a player to recognize that his value is higher than what he's getting from the school that he's playing with, and decides that he's going to he wants to test the market and he wants to leave. And so, guess what? If, like I've always said before, if colleges can make 30 million on you, on your likeness, on everything that you do to boost them, you should make as much money as you can possibly make as a player on said team as well. And
Well, I got a question for you
Tennessee
on
was
that
going to
one
give him
afterwards.
Well, Tennessee was going to give him 2, and UCLA is probably going to give him 3.1, which I believe is his market value was set to,
He
and
asked for
so he
four,
leaves.
actually.
He asked for 4. I
But
think
wait,
his market amount was set to 3.1.
UCLA is going to give him more money?
I believe so. I don't know.
Good
I
for
don't know what
him,
the
man.
money is.
Secure the bag.
Yeah,
If you
Secure the
got
bag.
it,
UCLA
somebody
is going to
online
stink anyway, but he's from LA, so shout out to him.
somebody online was saying that they should have contracts for this to stop these going running around to different teams like crazy.
Yeah, you know why they don't have contracts that actually hold them to the school? You know why? Because the NCAA fought against it because they didn't want to make them employees. Because the
yeah,
universities don't want to make employees because if they made them employees, guess what they'd have to pay? Benefits. That's
Okay,
right.
exactly,
this is like the 5th time we've
You
been interrupted in the league. So back to your shout out.
exactly. No, it's it's
God
fine.
forbid they pay him. God forbid they pay for their health care and take
Sixth
care of them
time.
after they leave college.
It's full. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. Well, I'm done. I'm done.
Damn,
I'm
I'm
done.
sorry.
My shout outs are done. I had one more, but I can't find it anymore. So I'm done.
Oh dang.
Shout out to the Mavericks because they're beating the brakes off the Kings right now in Sacramento. I picked them to win this game, and it looks like I'm going to be right.
Just direction out of bounds.
As they're up 23 points right now against the Sacramento Kings.
Okay, you
And
3 points ahead of me because now I see the 3. There it goes.
yeah. So
Going into halftime.
looks
Take
like
Sacramento
it's
halftime line.
looks like it's pretty much going to be a wrap for these Kings.
Oh yeah, yeah. Their stadium's named after a credit union. That's how you know a team's really doing well. When you're named
And
after a credit union.
3 of the 4
If they
games
can pay
of
for it.
this have been blowouts. Get rid of the play-in tournament. It's trash.
Wait,
It's
wait, wait, wait,
You
wait,
trash.
can't.
wait, wait, whoa!
No, no, no.
Before we go anywhere,
Let's not.
wait, wait,
Let's
wait,
not
wait,
do
wait,
that.
no,
These
no,
are
no, no, no,
professional
no, no.
basketball players. Go ahead, Ann.
I said
It's
this a couple of weeks ago, and I said it
trash.
last year, and I said it the year before that this playing BS should not be here. And
I
you're still defending it
no,
like
I
crazy.
like
I'll,
it. No, I
I'll
like
defend
it
it
when the
because it's more
games are
basketball.
good. I
The
like it
games
when the
usually
games
aren't
are
good.
good. This is trash.
No,
Next game might
they
be
should
good.
get rid of the play-ins and keep the LeBron James Classic.
No,
I don't mind the LeBron James Classic in the middle of the year, but
I
that should
The
don't
replace
like that
NBA
at all.
Cup. It's
yeah
called
the
the NBA
NBA
Cup.
yeah the NBA Cup.
Emirates
Emirates
Cup.
Cup. Emirates Cup.
Oh yeah.
Whatever
I
cup, the
Brought to you
LeBron
by
James
look.
Cup with
capitalism.
LeBron James symbol in there.
I like it when there was a real so the reason, and I remember people we can stop recording after this. The purpose of this was if the 9, 10, and 8 seeds were within X number of games of the 7th seed, then you had the tournament to kind of determine that, because what you were trying to do is to prevent, teams that, maybe had a bad season or had a bad
From
injury or
just
something like
sneaking
that
in.
to just sneak in, right? But with these teams, I think all 4, if I'm not mistaken, well, no, except with the exception of Minnesota, I mean Golden State and Memphis, all 4 of these
They're
teams had
12
losing
games behind
records.
these teams.
Yes, this is the
No,
ninth
no.
versus the
Memphis had
10th
a winning
seed.
record.
This is the ninth
Memphis had
versus
a
No,
the
that's
winning
what I
10th
record.
seed
said.
right now.
With the exception of Golden State and Memphis, the
Yeah.
other 6
Memphis.
teams the other 6 teams had either 500 or lower records.
This is a 9 versus 10
Correct.
seed
Like,
team
I don't
versus
need to
shooting
see
at wide
that.
open shots and stuff like that.
They all stink. They all stink.
Like a waste of
They're
Which is
time.
why
all
they should have let. Which is why they should have let the Spurs in, so I could win my bet.
So in the event that there's an action, something that actually play for, like Memphis and Golden State, I think that was needed. You needed to have that game. So they should have
But the
played a
rest of them were
7-8.
BS.
Yeah, just let them play 7-8 game. Whoever wins it is the 7, whoever loses it is the 8th, and then we move on. We did not need Atlanta and the Magic to play a game last night. Didn't need it. Wasn't necessary.
Then we would have missed out on. Trae Young spazzing out on the refs, or as the kids call it today,
not the first time or the last time it's going to happen. Not the first time or the last time it's going to happen. It wasn't necessary. So I'm done.
I'm telling you, I said this a couple of years ago.
Peace.
We out like the dildo in the space.